Round 19 of the GP4 OC 2016 season takes place here in Mexico City, in Mexico, for the Mexican Grand Prix, the second Mexican Grand Prix. Obviously the first one being last year in 2015, where we had a spectacular crash on the first corner, on the first lap. The track's named after the Rodriguez brothers, Ricardo and Pedro Rodriguez, and Ferrari were obviously the first team to win here at the inaugural Mexican Grand Prix race last season, and obviously the previous one only being Florian Volk. Obviously Jay McKenzie won last time out in Texas, meaning that he now takes the lead of the driver's standings, well, despite being on the same points as Nella, but on count back. So there's 71 laps. Obviously we've got the very long front straight into the first corner. We've got obviously the S's. There are a couple of overtaking spots. So it will be slipstream heaven on the front straight, because it is a long run down towards that first corner. And the question is, will we see another crash at the first corner like we did last year? Will be very interesting to see. The tyres we'll be using for this race will be the medium tyres, and Yuri Martok once again gets yet another driver of the day rating, as he unfortunately narrowly missed out on a podium for McLaren, getting beaten by a Force India again. So the starting grid for Mexican Grand Prix: Jay McKenzie is on pole position, but Amar Carr is alongside him in second. On the second row is Florian Volker and Joseph Willers, the two Ferraris. Third row of the grid is Nicolas Gau and Romain Quag. On the fourth row of the grid is Roda Moita, good qualifying by him as well, and Yuri Marta in 8th. The fifth row of the grid we have Oliver Glazebrook and Rick Yan, good qualifying by both McLarens once again. On the 6th row of the grid, 11th and 12th, Nella, who had taken pole position but of course got a grid penalty last time out in Texas, so he drops down to 11th. Franco Lopez alongside him in 12th. Evan Byrne and Michael Mocho 13th and 14th on row 7 of the grid. On the 8th row of the grid we have David Greenwood and Etienne Jones for Renault and Manor respectively. On the 9th row of the grid we have Nicolas Pascali and Roberto Gamba for Sauber, and Nicolas Pascali for Manor I should say as well. On the 10th row we have Franco Gamba and Gabriel Gomez for Toro Rosso and Haas, and on the final row of the grid we have Thierry Tiranen and Bartis Kloss for Renault and for Sauber. So that is the grid. That is the grid for the Mexican Grand Prix. The team news this week is that Julius Anderson, the DTM OC champion, will return to the top class with Williams for next season, and Joel Hutter, who races in GP2, will be promoted from GP2 and will drive for Haas alongside George Roque next season. So two very interesting bits of team news there. And the weather for this race, it will be surprisingly, it will be wet. It will be light rain at the start, but it will get heavier as the race goes on. So that will be very interesting indeed. At the moment the track it is actually damp. It's kind of, everyone's on the intermediate tyres by the looks of it, are they? Yep, everyone is on inters, so it's going to be very interesting to see with the rain that it's going to get heavier as it goes on, as the 5 lights are now on. And we're underway for the second Mexican Grand Prix. McKenzie has made a good start. Carr has not made a particularly good start. He's under pressure from the two Ferraris now as they head towards turn 1. McKenzie's in the lead. Carr is just about defending as Gal has snuck his way through the gap there, has overtaken both Ferraris, and he's now going on the inside of Carr for second place into turn 1. The question is, will they make it through turn 1? Oh no, they won't. And there's been a crash. Volker's gone wide. Oh, and it's chaos once again. There's debris flying absolutely everywhere. I don't know, has everyone got through there? No, and there has been a crash at the first corner, and that's involved Nicolas Pascali. I think it was Rick Yan was the other one, as the cars filter their way through, but Gal right behind McKenzie. What a start he's made as we look through the rest of the order. Greenwood's up to 8th place. What a start. See if anyone else got damage. Glazebrook has got damage. Anyone else? No, I don't think anyone else. No, actually, I think there's a Sauber that's got damage. That's Roberto Gamba's got damage. So let's see what happens. So Rick Yan, who hadn't made a good start, he dropped a place or two as they head up towards turn 1. Did he get hit, or was he the one that caused all of that chaos? We shall find out. So as we come towards turn 1, it can get very tight. Cars moving about all over the place because it's such a long run. He goes into the McLaren actually in front of him, and he then gets hit from behind. He actually goes into both McLarens, and then he gets hit from behind by, I believe it must have been Pascali, I think. So we're looking from Pascali's point of view, heading into turn 1, and yes, Pascali gets hit from behind by, I think that was Roberto Gamba. So Roberto Gamba went into the back of Pascali, who just swiped in front of him there, and then this is where he goes into him right there, and that causes Pascali to retire from the race, and then causes what happened later on in the corners. This is Volker's point of view going into the first corner. He actually got hit by a bit of debris, and then he got hit by the Williams as well, and that cost him quite a few positions there. He's lucky he didn't get any damage from that, but he drops now down to 10th position, so not the start the Volker would have wanted at all. So once again, chaos at the first corner. I did say there might be chaos just because of what happened, and actually Glazebrook, this was on board from him, his point of view, getting hit by Jan, who went out of the race. So Glazebrook missing his rear wings, he's going to have to go into the pits. So a chaotic start to the Mexican Grand Prix as we look on board from Evan Burns' point of view. Did he make contact with anyone? And the answer is no, I don't think he did. He went over the curb there and actually nearly went into the Mercedes of Nella there, but Byrne went a bit wide onto the grass. It's a bit strange there. He'd actually gained a few positions, but he's unfortunately just thrown them all away there, so that was really bizarre. And oh my word, and a Renault was absolutely launched coming into the baseball stadium there into Etienne Jones, and I think that must have been, was that now Tiranen? I believe it was. Yeah, it was now Tiranen who just absolutely dive bombed into the corner there and just completely took out the manner of Etienne Jones. So let's have a look at it from now Tiranen's point of view. Just sort of went past Glazebrook, then went past the Sauber, but then just, if he'd braked a little bit earlier, he could have made the corner, but unfortunately, now he has to go into the pits, so Renault's terrible season continues, although Greenwood has actually made a good start, but how long will he be able to keep it up is going to be the big question. Here is Nella, who is passing the Williams, and he will be, as you can see, will be passing the Williams under the yellow flags, I think. He's behind the Williams of Roland Moitian, and I think he's going to try and go past him here, because there's so much, because you get so much slipstream because it's such a long straight. He's on the inside of the Williams, and yep, there's the yellow flag there. So if he passes him, it will be a penalty, and this is not what Nella will want at all. So he's on the inside, and yep, as you can see, he goes, and the banners come up. So Nella will receive a 5-second time penalty for overtaking Moitian under yellow flags. Not what he needed in this title fight with Mackenzie. Now here's Moitian battling with his teammate Quarg, and they make contact. Oh no! I can't believe it. Oh, and it's chaos once again. And Moitian and the two Williams have collided, and Volker unfortunately has been involved there. As we look from Volker's point of view, they made contact there, and Greenwood just managed to sneak through there. So he actually got some luck there for once, but Quarg was all over the back of Moitian like a cheap suit. Tried to make a move coming into the corner there, and unfortunately there was the contact, and Moitian was around and then caught the end of Quarg's car, and oh dear me, that's not good for Williams. There's going to be some words said in the garage afterwards. I mean, Quarg made a move on the inside, and unfortunately because the corner just tightens, I mean, I don't know, Quarg, I mean, I think Moitian maybe could have left a bit more room on the outside, I would say, probably in that incident. I don't think, well, they'll probably investigate it, but I don't think a penalty would be given, I wouldn't think. We'll see what happens, actually, as that incident will be put under investigation. Volker obviously won't get anything for that. So, wow, what a start. So we've had, I think that's what, 4 or 5, that's like 5 cars, I think, are out of the race now. And we're only on lap 2. So this is from Greenwood's point of view. You can see the two Williams hitting each other in front, and Greenwood just snuck through there. So he's now up to 6th place. He must be having a heart attack, Greenwood. He's never been this high up. Oh my word, I can't believe what I've just seen. And not only that, well, Mocho's actually gone into the wheel but has not got any damage. I mean, that is what is called commentator's curse right there. That's what just happened. As here is oh, there's contact. Willows goes into the back of the Red Bull there. Nella's through. He's got past both of them, so that's good news for Nella. He's now already up into P3. This is everyone's making it a lot easier for him than he probably would have thought. So Nella up into P3 as Willows had that collision while trying to pass Armar Carr, and now Willows is dropping way down the field. He drops all the way down to 12th position. So wow, what a start to the race we've had. Unbelievable scenes. So this, as we're looking on board from Willows, so he was all over the back of Carr heading towards turn 4, this is. So he was trying to make a move on the inside. Carr came over. It was bound to happen. And Nella said thank you very much and sneaks through into 3rd, but obviously let's not forget he does have that 5-second penalty, but still it's making it a lot easier for him to close back up to Mackenzie, because obviously it's important, because Mackenzie will lead well, he's already leading, and he'll extend his lead if he finishes ahead of Nella. So we'll see what happens as Nella now actually sets the fastest lap of the race, actually, a 1:24. I think that was 8. The track does look to be getting wetter at this moment in time. Well, it's certainly going to get heavier, the rain, later on in the race, as here is the Toro Rosso of Mocho all over the back of Carr, heading towards turn 1. Carr moves to the inside to defend, actually, so it's interesting, the two sister teams fighting each other. And Carr, is he still ahead? I think he is. Byrne's actually up to 7th. Byrne actually, despite having that good start then screwing it up, has moved up back into the points, and Gabriel Gomez has got an electrical problem, and he's still got a whole lap to go and to get to the pits, and he's just done the long straight, which is not going to help his problem. So I don't know if Gomez is going to be able to make it back to the pits or not. We shall see. I don't think he will. I'd be surprised if he goes the whole lap. We have seen it before. But he drops behind the Ferrari of Joseph Willows. I'd be surprised if Gomez does make it to the pits. We've got no yellow flag out. That is, I think, where is that on track? It's a bit of a weird map, this. And oh, there's a Renault off, and that is David Greenwood. I mean, what can you say about that, really? That's just very, very unfortunate for Renault. They are the most unlucky team this season. It's probably one of the worst seasons for any team in OC history. I mean, there's no other way of putting it. And it's actually an accident, and that's coming around actually the final corner. So he must have gone wide on those inter tyres. So he dropped down to 13th after all that chaos that ensued throughout the first 10 laps. So let's have a look. Does he go wide? Yep, it goes wide, and then hits the barrier, coming onto the front straight, and that is his race done and dusted on lap 10. So that's one Renault down, and that is the... So I think there's only 15 cars now left in this race, and this was where Gabriel Gomez had his electrical just gone past the pits, of course, in the slipstream of the Sauber in front of him, goes across the line, and then the electrical problem starts right about, yep, in the slipstream, and there it goes. So we haven't seen actually if Gomez has got back to the pits or not, so in a minute we'll see if he has or not, as I'll be stunned if he does get back to the pits with that problem. We shall see. So as we look on board with him coming through the first section of the track, as we're looking at the Toro Rosso of Michael Mocho, who is actually coming into the pits this lap, as he's had a good race so far. And he comes into the pits, he goes to the right side of the track and goes in. Unusual line, you don't have to go that early in, but hey-ho. And now he goes into the pits for his first stop of the race. We've got another yellow flag that's coming through, I think the S's bid, and that is Joseph Willows is out of the race. Another retirement, and Joseph Willows' race is over on lap 12, so that is the 8th retirement of the race. It's a puncher for the British driver. He was closing up to the back of Bartis Kloss, who's actually in the points for Sauber. And they haven't actually scored any points since, I think it was the British Grand Prix, I think it was. It was the last time either driver scored any points. And there was the puncher coming through the S's there, so that is Willis' race finished. And that, as I said, I believe is the 8th retirement of the race. We've only got now 14 cars left. So, wow, what a... cars just falling by the wayside. We haven't seen that much action. Well, we've seen a bit of action. Mainly just cars breaking down or just crashing. Mainly, that's what we've seen. So Michael Mocho comes into the pits. He's on the greens, and he changes to the wet tyres. Obviously, we've got two forms of wet tyres. One of them is just the wets, and the other is the extreme wets. I suppose the lighter blue ones, of course, are the light wets, and yeah, darker ones are of course extreme. So there you go. Always get that wrong. Always get confused somehow, because I mean they look the same generally. You wouldn't be able to tell that much difference. But Oliver Glazebrook is actually coming into the pits, although he got a lot of fuel, so he must have an issue, unless he. Well, yes, his car has just decided to brake on him. That's what's happened. So there we go. So doesn't get much better for Oliver Glazebrook either. And he was already running down the order in 12th, having been hit on the first lap. And it's not getting any better for the Englishman, so he has to go into the pits to change his front wing. And there we go. So, we've seen so much chaos in the first 12 laps of this race. So there we are. So Glazebrook, who is now plumb last, I don't see him getting any points. It doesn't matter though, because wow, I've just seen how much fuel have they put into his car. My word. I mean, there's no point in doing that actually, as the incident between Volker and Meuchenquart concluded to be a racing incident. Not too surprising there, but I mean, the amount of fuel they put into Glazebrook car, there's just no point, because it's going to get wetter as the race goes on. so they're going to have to pit anyway, as Gal pits onto the wet tyres. So he comes out of the pits, so Nella now takes second place. So we can see where, when all the other drivers pit, if they have to pit before their scheduled stop. So we shall see. So Gal comes out of the pits, down to P5, is it? No, P6, drops behind Evan Byrne. And he's going to come out just ahead of Yuri Marta. Is he, or is Marta going to go to the inside? And is he going to overtake him into turn 1, Marta? And the answer is yes, he will. So that's not what Gal wanted at all. So he's now going to get back past Marta quickly. But it'll be interesting to see, actually, if the wet tyres are the correct tyres to go on. They will be soon. But at the moment, we've seen in the OC before, getting on the right tyres in wet conditions can make a whole lot of difference. So we shall see what happens. So now Tiranen comes into the pits for Renault. Obviously, we don't know who is going to get the second seat at Renault next season. One of the two drivers will be dropped because, of course, Evan Byrne has returned to Renault for the 2017 season. So it's going to be very interesting to see which driver will be dropped. Because I don't think, well, just judged by the season, really. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I mean, obviously, Green was the one who's got the least amount of points. He's only got 1 point. He's bottom, but I think he's generally performed better than now Tiranen. So it's going to be interesting, I have to say. I mean, it's a shame for Green because of course, season before he was doing very well, you know, and he decided to stick with Renault. But unfortunately, if he gets dropped, then that will have backfired on him hugely. As we look at Jay McKenzie, the race leader, coming in, changes from inters onto the wet tyres. So as he comes out of his pit box, and there we go, 6.7 seconds comes out. So he drops behind Nella, who leads this race. So how much will they put into his car? So he'll be making one more stop before the end. We can see if they have to go onto the extreme wets, because obviously it's going to get heavier. So we'll have to wait and see, really. So McKenzie comes out in P2 ahead of, well, Carl, because he's come into the pits, and there's actually a whole number of cars that come into the pits as well. Cars come in, I think Lopez, who's behind him, has come in. I think there was 2 more after Lopez as well who've come in. So there's a lot of drivers pitching, so I think this is obviously the time to change onto the wet tyres. Yet Lopez is in, and there's another car just going past there. I couldn't tell who that was. I think it was Yuri Marta, I believe, in the McLaren. I think it's gone into the pits as well. So as car comes ahead of Lopez, and there's, I think, is that Toro Rosso? It might be a Toro Rosso. Lopez comes out of his pit box, and yes, it was Franco Gamba who's come into the pits as well. So a whole number of drivers who've come in to change onto the wets, because now I think is the time. So Will Nella is going to be pitting this lap as well. I think he's one of the last ones to pit onto the wet tyres. So we'll see how close he is to the back of McKenzie when he comes out. I don't know what the gap is actually between the two, but I would imagine McKenzie will get back out will come out in front, or go past him, I should say. So as Nella comes into the pits, the Haas behind him nearly runs into him there. That was a bit of a sketchy moment, but he comes in. As we see, obviously the sky is clouded over again. So as Nella comes in, and what's the gap? I think that was 20-something seconds. Difficult to read from the screen. 20-something seconds. So it'll be close, but I think McKenzie will come out in front. As Nella changes onto the wets, there's another car coming into the pits as well. 5.9 seconds. So Evan Byrne at the moment Evan Byrne right now is on the podium for Haas. I don't know if he's actually pitted onto the wets. We'll have to see. And it's Roberto Gamba who's pitted for the wet tyres as well. I don't know if Byrne has pitted for the wets or not. I can't remember if he's come in. I don't believe he's come in, as far as I can remember. But if he has, and the cameras have not seen it, then he's on the podium right now. So there's now Tiernan, there's McKenzie, who does... and actually Nella did come out ahead of McKenzie, but McKenzie's going to overtake him into turn 1. I didn't think it was going to be this close, but McKenzie does just stay in front of Nella there. That was actually a lot closer than I was anticipating. My word, I thought it would be like a couple of seconds, but wow, that was close, as Evan Byrne does come into the pits, and so does Michael Mocho in the Toro Rosso behind him, and there's another car behind Mocho as well who came in. Byrne obviously comes in the last pit box. So where will Byrne come out of the pits in the order? So he comes up behind my car, so he's going to come out actually behind this big gaggle of cars battling for the top 5. So At the moment, Mackenzie's leading, just ahead of Nella. Gal is third, Carr is in fourth, Franco Lopez is in fifth, I believe Marta's sixth, and Byrne, I think, I saw has come out in seventh. Mocho comes out in ninth position as he comes out of the pits in P9. So there we go. And so he comes out in P9 and no car, and in a pretty safe position. So there we go. So now we can see the track is certainly very wet, so the heavy rain has now come. So everyone is now on the wet tyres. That is the correct tyre to be on. But they're running pretty much on his own in 12th. I mean, I have no idea why his team decided to be a great idea. To put that much fuel in his car. I mean, who thought that was a good idea? I honestly have no idea. But Byrne has come out in 7th. He's come out just in front of Franco Gamba in the other Toro Rosso there. So two Toro Rossos 8th and 9th at the moment. Gamba's not too far away from Byrne. So we'll see if there's a battle does ensue there. There's now Tiernan in 13th. Nella just behind Mackenzie, although he's just ahead enough so that Nella can't get in the slipstream. Oh, and now Tiernan has got an issue on the front straight. He's just past the pits. It's a mechanical issue, so will he have to pull the car over? If so, that will be another double retirement for Renault, and their dreadful season will continue. As here's the battle of the leaders. Nella actually is right behind Mackenzie. Will he make a move? He's on the inside. Nella's on the inside. This could be crucial for the championship. Does he make the move stick? And the answer is yes. And Will Nella takes the lead of the Mexican Grand Prix as the yellow flag has come out. And that must be for now Tiernan, who I would imagine has pulled off the circuit. As Franco Gamba is coming to the pits again. And no, it's Armor Carr is out of the race. That's another retirement. And that is at the final corner. That he's crashed at the same place that David Greenway did earlier. So it's very slippery out there. But Franco Gamba has come in, I think, again. I guess onto the other wet tyres, I would think. So here is Carr. So he went a little bit. I caught the curb there, and I think that might have affected him going into the final corner. And yeah, carbon copy of David Greenwood's crash at the final corner there. So that is Carr's race over. So he was running in the top 4. He ain't now. So that's his race done. As we look at Franco Gamba, who's behind. Oh no, and that's why Gamba pitted, because he unfortunately ran into the back of Carr, caught the edge of his car coming round the final corner there, and that's very unfortunate for Gamba. Unfortunately, the pits were right there, so it's not too bad, but still, there's an unnecessary incident that he got involved in, which obviously was not his fault. But there was the problem for now Tiernan coming on to just coming past the pits, of course, typical once again. And so yes, the answer is he did pull off. I think that might have been in the final corner possibly. He is Michael Mocho, and there is Carr's car. And Mocho did get through the debris. Actually, didn't hit anything, so that is quite lucky. And oh no, well, it wasn't anything to do with the debris, but Michael Mocho has now got a problem, and yet his race is over as he's going to pull his car off to the side. I just jinxed it again. Commentator's curse once again. I don't think that's ever happened like more than once in a race. But Gabriel Gomez has come into the pits for another change of wet tyres. So as he comes into his pit box, which is the last one right at the end of the pit lane. So let's see if I can tell the difference between the two. Yeah, I think he's gone with the extreme wets. They definitely look darker. So I believe Gabriel Gomez has decided to go into the extreme wet tyres because it does look pretty miserable out there. So there we go. So he comes out in, I think that was 10th place. Oliver Glazebrook is going to come in for the extreme wets, despite the fact he's still got a lot of fuel left to burn. They don't even really need to. Well, they could. I wouldn't be surprised if they fuel his car to the end at this point, judging by the ridiculous amount of fuel they put into his car earlier. So we'll see if they decide to do that or not. And so do they? And the answer is 39. Yeah, I think actually, yeah, I was right. They did fuel his car to the end. So there we go. 39 laps of fuel. So that will be enough to get them to the end. So there we go. And Miguel Escal comes in for another set of wets, or the extreme wets. Changes all 4 tyres. Pretty quick. And there we go. Does he go to the end? The answer is no, he doesn't. He'll be pitting once more. So there we are. So he'll come out in P5 by the looks of it. and comes to the pit exit. Now can put pedal to the metal, and there we go. Out of the pits in P5 in a comfortable position. Evan Byrne nowhere near him there. Bartosz Kos in 7th, running quite high. Will Nella will be pitting this lap, so we'll see if he does stay ahead of Mackenzie. He's built a gap to Mackenzie behind him, so as he comes through the baseball stadium and heads towards the pits, so we can see if Mackenzie does close up or not. I would imagine he'll pit straight after, because if he doesn't, then he'll have pretty much no hope, I would think, of catching Nella. But you never know. We shall see as Nella comes into the pits. And the question is actually, will they fuel him to the end or not? Will be the big question. So they change all 4 tyres. They've added a touch more fuel in, and well, it's not enough for him to go to the end, so he'll be making one more stop. So out of his pit box he comes, and Mackenzie will take the lead of the race as Nella comes out, and Mackenzie now comes across the line. Actually, the gap is actually quite big, so I think, yeah, so Mackenzie has to pit next lap. He has to pit this lap, I should say, if he wants to have any chance of catching Nella, and he's not actually, so okay, so that's very interesting there. I thought he would, but apparently not. Franco Lopez is going to come into the pits this lap as well, with Marta right behind him, so he comes in now. This could be this is an interesting battle between these two. This is for the podium at the moment. Well, this is for 4th, I think I should say. At the moment they're on the podium, but Gal's just pitted, I should say. So this is for 4th place, this battle. So Lopez will come in. So who will do the quicker start? Will it be Force India or will it be McLaren? They change all 4 tyres on Lopez's car. It doesn't go to the end. He'll be making one more stop. And change of 4, out he comes. What's the time? I couldn't quite tell. It went off the screen. Marta has to wait, so Lopez will come back out in front, and he'll lose a bit of time because he was right behind him as he came into the pit. So he'll lose about a second or two by that pit stop. I think Marta's one was actually quicker than Lopez, but it wasn't enough to get back out in front. But Marta comes out in 6th. Franco Lopez in P5. So Evan Byrne is currently in P4. He's having a pretty solid race. He is not pitting for a while, and well, unless his tyres go off the cliff, or I should say these certain wet tyres. Franco Gamba is in the pits as well for Toro Rosso. And will he go to the end? That is, yep, that is going to go to the end. So Franco Gamba will go to the end of the race on this set of tyres, so that's interesting indeed. But out of the pits he comes, and comes out in 8th position, so in a pretty safe 8th position. But he comes out behind, comes out right in front of the Mercedes there. That must be of Jay Mackenzie there. Comes out right in front of him. That was a worst possible spot to come out there, but fortunately no harm done. Although for Mackenzie, the harm done for him, you could say, is that he was held up a little bit. He came out of the pit. So where is Nella? He's, I think, gone around the pit straight already, so he's not that far. What's the gap? I can see 4.6. So yeah, I think I don't see Mackenzie being able to catch Nella up, because Nella is right behind him now. He's still not pitting Mackenzie, so at the moment Nella is the favourite to win this race. At the moment, we've still got about half the race left to go, so you never know what could happen in the OC. This is, as I said, the OC we're talking about. So as we look at Nella coming through the S's section of the circuit, can't overtake here. I mean, see, always Nella makes a little bit of a mistake there, so he'll lose a little bit of time. You have to be careful not to get on the curbs or the Astro, because they are going to be very slippery when wet. And Nella does keep it on the circuit and doesn't spin, so he'll lose a little bit of time, but keeps it on the circuit. So he'll still inherit the lead when Mackenzie goes in, as Mackenzie still has still decided not to go in. So Nella is right behind him, coming onto the front straight here, and he's surely going to go past him with absolute ease. He's in the slipstream, and Nella goes to the inside, and Nella is going to take the lead of the Mexican Grand Prix, and he passes Mackenzie into turn 1. That is the lead for Will Nella, and it's looking pretty good for him right now, as he's already, look at the gap he got just in turns 2 and 3 there. So Mackenzie, I don't know what Mackenzie can do really. There's not much he can do. He probably just has to hope that he suffers a mechanical failure, I would think. This is Oliver Glazebrook, who's on the back of Gabriel Gomez. This is for P9, trying to make a move on the inside, heading up towards turn 1. He's on the inside and makes it stick pretty easy there for the Englishman past the Brazilian. So he's up into 9th position. Of course, he won't be going. He will be going to the end of the race. Even on this dodgy strategy, Mackenzie changes tyres, changes onto the wets. So he finally does pit, and of course he'll be going to the end. But I don't see him being able to catch up Nella, because obviously Nella does have a stop to make, but he's way ahead. So I don't see Nella losing this race unless problems ensue for Nella, which is entirely possible. Mackenzie comes out in a very comfortable P2. We've not seen Gal all race, and here he is. He's coming to the pits. We've finally seen Nicolas Gal, but he's had a quiet race, which is not necessarily a bad thing because he's avoided trouble. But he's generally had a very lonely race in 3rd, inherited it since early on, and never really looked back. Because obviously Lopez and Marta, Byrne, they've all been battling for 4th place, so that's why Gal's not really been under much pressure. So at the moment, Evan Byrne actually is still in P4. Actually, surprisingly enough, so he's actually managed to hold. Well, speaking of Byrne, comes into the pits this lap actually for his final stop of the race. So in the pits he comes. So Byrne's done a pretty good job actually. So he comes in the pits in P4, and Yuri Marta comes in as well. So Marta won't jump Byrne. So I guess they'll probably be hoping that they get in front of Lopez. So Lopez will be trying the overcut. Byrne will be trying to just make sure he stays in front, but Lopez going out for one more lap, I would think, and so we'll see if he does pit next time around. So Marta comes in, changes all 4 tyres, will go to the end, 6.5 seconds. Byrne comes in and comes out ahead of Marta there. 6 points. Oh, that was actually pretty close. He only just came out in front of Marta. That was very, very close. Lopez now does come in next lap. So the question is, has the overcut for Franco Lopez worked? So he comes in to the pits, come into his pit box, and we'll see if it has worked or not. I mean, he could easily get past Byrne because he'll be on fresher tyres, but I don't know. I mean, Byrne has managed to keep him behind for a lot of this race, so you never know. But this is going to be crucial for Lopez if he wants to get P4. So he comes out of the pits, and where is Byrne and Marta? So Franco Lopez coming to the pit exit. Where is Byrne? He hasn't come across the line yet, and Lopez now comes out of the pits. Byrne has come across the line, so I think this could be quite close. And there is Byrne, and Lopez has come out in front, although Byrne's on the inside because he's got the speed, and he's going to overtake Lopez unless Lopez can defend. And the answer is no, he can't. So it so nearly worked for Franco Lopez. It so nearly worked, but unfortunately Byrne has stayed in front, and can he hold it for the rest of the race? Marta's there as well, as Gabriel Gomez comes in for his final step of the race for Haas. He was running in the lower reaches of the top 10, and so he'll come. I wonder if he'll come out ahead of Roberto Gamma. I don't know if he has to pit before the end or not. I would think he is. I mean, I don't know. I haven't seen much of him at all this race, although this race, I mean, we're already at lap 63. There's not been generally that much action because I suppose there's not that many cars left, and particularly at a track like Mexico, you generally need a lot of cars for action here. So Gabriel Gomez comes out of the pits, and he will stay in position number 10, which means he's going to get a single point for Haas at this moment in time. Comes out just ahead of Roberto Gamma there, who's about to be lapped by the Red Bull of Gal, heading towards turn 1. And Nella now does come in for his final stop of the race. 43 seconds the gap for Nella, so it is going to be a very comfortable gap, and he can come out and he can cruise to the end, will Nella. But yes, remember, there still could be anything can happen to him still. Changes all 4 tyres, not much fuel at the end, so he can really go for it in these last 7 laps. So changes all 4, 6.6 seconds, and Nella comes out in the lead of this race, or still in the lead of this race. So he comes towards the pit exits. Will he have any trouble? Will he have any trouble? I mean, the only possible thing that can happen to him, he could either have traffic, or he will probably have traffic, or he could suffer a mechanical problem, I don't know. But Nella, he's got a 23-second lead on Jay McKenzie as we're now onto the last lap of the race. So this is a huge win for Nella. He'll retake the lead of these standings. So it can only be a Mercedes that can win the championship. Now, they've dominated this season, a bit like in real life. They've absolutely blown away the competition, and once again they've blown away absolutely everyone else. stays in an absolute class of their own. Nella sided his way through the field at the start and was helped by all the chaos that ensued. And of course Nella, who did have that 5-second penalty for overtaking Moitin under yellow flags, but that really mattered. Well, it didn't matter at all. It really did not matter for Nella as he comes through the baseball session for the 71st and the final time. There's only 2 more rounds to go after this, and the title is still wide open. Nella comes round the final corner for the 71st and final time. He comes round the right-hander, and Nella is going to win the Mexico Grand Prix and will retake the lead in the Drivers' Championship. Well done to him. So that's P1 for Nella. Mackenzie will come across the line second. Byrne, a fantastic race by Evan Byrne in the Haas, holds off Lopez and Master for 4th position. So Lopez in 5th, Master in 6th. Franco Gamba will come across the line in P7 for Toro Rosso. That's not a bad result, I guess, for him. And he was not actually that far away from that battle for P4. So just imagine if he didn't hit the debris from Carr's car. Could have been a whole lot different. Glazebrook comes across the line in P8. Mackenzie obviously came across the line just before there in 2nd position. Bartis Kloss will take 9th position, while Sauber will take their first points finish since the British Grand Prix, which was, I think, nearly 10 races ago. It was quite a way back. And so Kloss comes across the line in 9th position, so that's good for Sauber. They get some more points. Gabriel Gomez will come across the line in 10th position, will take the final point ahead of Roberto Gamba. So actually, I think only 11 cars actually finished this race. So it was a very chaotic race, that's for sure. Gal comes across the line in P3. Roberto Gamba set to come across the line in 11th. He's the last person, I believe, to be running on this track. Well, he's in last position, and he'll be the last one to finish coming across the line. So, unfortunately, not his race, but it's not generally been a good season for Sauber. But it doesn't matter for Roberto Gamba anyway, because he'll be moving to a new team. He'll be moving to McLaren for next season, and the race is over in the fastest lap set by Nella, a 1:24.827. That was when the drivers were, of course, on intermediate tyres. Nella winning, of course, the 4 race results here. Nella winning ahead of Jay Mackenzie in 2nd, Miguel Scow in 3rd, Evan Byrne, Franco Lopez, Yuri Marshall, Franco Gamba, Oliver Glazer, Bartis Kloss, and Gabriel Gomez completing the top 10. And of course the last finisher being Roberto Gamba in 11th position. And of course all the following drivers retired from this race: Michael Mocha, Armar Carr, Thierry Tiernan, Joseph Willis, David Greenwood, Florian Volker, Roman Quagg, Renaud Moitin, Etienne Jones, Rick Kian, Nicolas Pascal. And 11 cars finishing a chaotic Mexican Grand Prix. Now we'll take a look at the drivers and the constructor standings after that race, and here are the drivers standings. So Nella takes the lead by 7 points ahead of Jay Mackenzie. Nicolas Gal still clear of Armar Carr in 4th. He can basically confirm 3rd in the next race in Abu Dhabi. Franco Lopez now moves ahead of Joseph Willis and is actually on the same point as Armar Carr. I didn't even realise that first. So an unbelievable season for Franco Lopez and for Force India in general. Franco Gamba moving up to 11th position for Toro Rosso. Gabriel Gomez down to 12th. Evan Byrne moving up to 14th with that 4th place finish, so good for him. Edward Glazebrook and Ionescu, Pascani, Mocho, Jones, Bartis Kloss stays in 20th despite getting 8th position, but he's only 1 point behind Etienne Jones now. Roberto Gamba 21st, Thierry Tiernan in 22nd, and David Greenwood last with just 1 point for Renault. So that's the drivers' standings. We'll take a look at the constructors' standings. So we all know Mercedes has won. Red Bull was 2nd, and I'd say they're probably just about confirmed 2nd place. I would say Force India in 3rd, and they've extended their advantage over Ferrari in 4th. Williams in 5th, McLaren in 6th, Haas in 7th, Toro Rosso in 8th, Manor in 9th, Sauber in 10th, and Renault in 11th position. So there we go. That was the Mexican Grand Prix. Not the most thrilling of races, but a chaotic one, you could say. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Forget to, as usual, vote for your driver of the day. I give the race a rating out of 10. Thanks for watching, everyone, and we'll see you for the penultimate round of the 2016 season, the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix at the Yas Marina Circuit. Thanks for watching, everyone, and we'll see you there.